Networking is praised because most people are weak. That sentence alone makes people uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is where truth lives. Modern society worships networking because it flatters insecurity. It tells people, you don't need power, you just need permission. So they shake hands. They collect contacts. They smile too much. They listen too carefully. And they stay exactly where they are. Machiavelli would have laughed at modern networking culture because he understood something most never will. Power is never built by asking to be included. It is built by becoming unavoidable. Networking is what you do when you have nothing else to offer. Value creation is what you do when you want leverage. This is not arrogance. It's hierarchy. Human psychology is brutally honest about status, even when language lies. People say they value collaboration. Their behavior values dominance. They say they admire humility. They follow certainty. Networking puts you in a submissive frame. You are approaching, you are asking, you are hoping. Power never hopes. The moment you walk into a room to network, your body already signals lower status. You are there to extract attention, not command it. And humans feel this instinctively. That's why most networking events feel awkward, artificial, and unproductive. Everyone is pretending to be valuable. Very few actually are. So they trade business cards instead of influence. They trade compliments instead of control. Nothing real moves. The uncomfortable truth is this: high-status people do not network. They select. They don't introduce themselves. They are introduced. They don't pitch. They are pursued. They don't attend rooms to be seen. They build rooms others want access to. Networking is effort spent on people who don't need you. Leverage is effort spent on building something people need. This is why networking rarely changes your life. It keeps you orbiting other people's gravity instead of building your own. Most people misunderstand how connections actually form. They believe relationships create value. In reality, value creates relationships. People don't connect because they like you. They connect because you are useful, scarce, or powerful. Likability is a weak currency. Utility is strong. Machiavellian thinking strips away the fantasy. If someone more powerful than you gives you attention, it's because they see potential value. If they don't, no amount of smiling will change that. This is why chasing connections feels humiliating. Your instincts know the hierarchy before your mind admits it. You can't flatter your way into power. You can only build leverage and let power come to you. Networking teaches the opposite lesson. It trains people to beg politely. The psychology is subtle but devastating. When you network, you internalize dependence. You start believing success is something others grant you. That belief alone caps your future. Power comes from independence first, alliances second. Machiavelli warned against appearing needy. Neediness invites exploitation, not respect. And networking is neediness dressed in professional clothing. Think carefully about this. Why do people brag about who they know instead of what they built? Because knowing is easier than building, and it feels like progress without risk. But borrowed status is fragile. When the relationship disappears, so does your relevance. Real power is self-contained. This is why the truly powerful often seem distant, even cold. They don't invest energy in everyone. They invest selectively. Scarcity increases perceived value. If you are always available, you are cheap. If you are selective, people become curious. Networking culture tells you to be everywhere. Power strategy tells you to be rare. Human psychology craves what it cannot easily access. This is why high-status individuals are often quiet online. They don't chase visibility. Visibility chases them. Most people reverse this order and fail. They think attention creates value. In reality, value creates attention. Networking focuses on surface-level interaction. Power is built through deep, asymmetric advantage. One strong position beats 1,000 weak connections. You don't need many people to know you. You need the right people to need you. Need is the key word. If your absence doesn't create a problem, you don't have leverage. Networking doesn't fix that. Skill does. Assets do. Control does. This is where psychology turns ruthless. People fear being alone, so they network. They fear irrelevance, so they network. They fear missing opportunities, so they network. Fear-driven action rarely leads to power. The powerful move from intention, not anxiety. They ask, what can I build that shifts the balance of power in my favor? Not, who should I meet? Meeting people doesn't change hierarchy. Changing value does. Machiavelli understood that alliances are a consequence of strength, not a substitute for it. If you rely on alliances to survive, you are weak. If others rely on alliances with you, you are strong. Networking keeps you in the first category. This is why many ambitious people feel secretly resentful after years of networking. They played the game. They followed the advice, and nothing changed, because the game was never designed for them to win. Networking benefits organizers, not attendees. Platforms, not players. The real winners are the ones everyone networks toward, not with. Those people didn't get there by networking. They got there by building something undeniable. There is also a hidden psychological cost. When you constantly introduce yourself, you reinforce a beginner identity. You stay in prove yourself mode. Power requires the opposite mindset, assumption of authority. You don't ask if you belong. You decide where you belong. This doesn't mean arrogance, it means internal certainty, and certainty is magnetic. People are drawn to those who seem anchored. They avoid those who seem hungry. Networking teaches hunger. Power teaches patience. If you watch carefully, you'll notice something disturbing. The more someone talks about networking, the less power they usually have. Those at the top don't give advice on networking. They give advice on leverage, systems, and positioning, because that's what actually works. The idea that your network is your net worth is comforting but misleading. Your value determines your network, not the other way around. If tomorrow you lost all your contacts but kept your skills, assets, and systems, you would rebuild quickly. If you kept contacts but lost value, you'd be forgotten. That tells you everything. Networking is a coping strategy for lack of leverage. It is not evil. It is simply low status. And low status strategies produce low status outcomes. Machiavelli would advise something far more dangerous and effective. Disappear. Build quietly. Return unavoidable. When you are unavoidable, networking becomes unnecessary. People introduce themselves to you. Once you reject networking, something dangerous happens. You become alone with your ambition, and most people can't survive that. Networking exists because silence terrifies weak minds. Silence exposes reality. Silence removes excuses. Silence reveals whether you are building or just pretending. Machiavelli knew this. Those who seek constant connection are seeking protection. Those who seek protection are not powerful. Isolation is not a punishment. It is a test. The powerful disappear before they dominate. They do not announce growth. They do not explain strategy. They do not seek approval. Visibility without power attracts predators. Invisibility with power creates fear. Fear is respect's darker cousin. Networking forces you to explain yourself early. Explanation is submission. The moment you explain who you are, you position yourself below the listener. High-status individuals are interpreted, not clarified. Power is never explained. It is observed. This is where the hierarchy becomes brutal. People who network are trying to be chosen. People with power choose. Choice defines status. If you need to be invited, you are not dangerous. If your absence creates loss, you are. Machiavellian wealth does not grow in crowds. Crowds dilute identity. Crowds flatten hierarchy. Power requires separation. You cannot rise while standing shoulder to shoulder with the desperate. Networking rooms are filled with people trading hope. Hope has no leverage. They exchange business cards like survival tokens. Everyone smiling, everyone hunting, no one respected. Respect does not come from familiarity. It comes from distance plus results. This is why powerful figures feel cold. Coldness is not cruelty. It is containment. Containment signals control. When you remove yourself from low-status social loops, a psychological shift occurs. You stop performing, you stop selling, you stop explaining. And that terrifies people, because humans are conditioned to trust visibility. But visibility is cheap. Silence is expensive. Silence implies you are occupied with something more important than validation. Networking culture teaches you to follow up. Power culture teaches you to let people feel your absence. Absence creates tension. Tension creates curiosity. Curiosity creates pursuit. Pursuit establishes hierarchy. If you pursue, you are below. If you are pursued, you are above. This is not philosophy. This is instinct. Machiavelli understood that alliances formed too early weaken you. They lock you into expectations. They expose your limits. Early alliances are chains disguised as help. True alliances form when refusal is possible. If you cannot refuse someone, you are not their equal. Networking traps you in obligation. Obligation destroys authority. This is why favors rot relationships. Debt poisons respect. The powerful do not owe. They exchange, or they don't engage. At this level, you stop trying to be liked. Likability is a low-status survival trait. Respect is colder, heavier, more durable. People respect what they cannot influence. Networking teaches accessibility. Power demands scarcity. If people can reach you anytime, you are background noise. If access is controlled, attention sharpens. Delay becomes a weapon. Immediate responses signal need. Delayed responses signal dominance. This is why powerful people feel unreachable. Not because they are arrogant, but because they are not available to randomness. Random access invites chaos. Chaos repels power. When you step away from networking, you will feel forgotten. That is the purge. Those who disappear never mattered. Those who reappear later were watching. Silence filters allies better than introductions ever could. Real alliances form when incentives align, not when names are exchanged. If your success strengthens someone else's position, connection is automatic. No handshake required. Networking tries to simulate value. Power creates it. Simulation fools beginners. Reality attracts elites. At the darkest level, something becomes clear. Networking is not about connection. It is about fear of irrelevance, and fear leaks through behavior. The powerful sense it immediately. They don't reject you out of cruelty. They ignore you out of instinct. Weakness is loud. Strength is quiet. When leverage exists, you don't enter rooms. Rooms rearrange. When value exists, you don't introduce yourself. Your reputation arrives first. This is the final separation. Those who chase proximity stay small. Those who build gravity become unavoidable. Machiavellian power is not social. It is structural. And once structure is in place, networking doesn't disappear. It becomes obsolete.